Hey everybody, glad to see you are still with us for this upcoming week. And I just wanted to touch base with you and some things for you to consider for, of course, today's agenda. Of course, your slides, your reading materials, all that information that's listed out there will help you with your community organizing and the concept of community organizing and building. You are going to be introduced to our good friend, the Precede Proceed model, which we will be using from this point on, and you will become very familiar with that. And then two, I would like to discuss your assignment one, including some of your sites. And so there's some information that's listed out there. So I'm hoping that this will be helpful. Some of the things that you all can kind of consider with what you are doing is, of course, you're going to be working with various communities over the course of the next 3 semesters. And of course, you want to kind of start off and consider exactly what is your community going to entail. So there are a number of ways that this can be defined. And so a question that I might ask of you as you consider this in the groups of people that you're going to be working with is that in an age of ever increasing globalization, we're very technology driven, and a lot of people feel very socially isolated. How can we create a sense of community? And so these would be some things that if you keep in mind, what may actually be the best thing regarding that. Give me a second. People are feeling very disorganized. What are we up against when we talk about social capital, and how are we in organizing folks and what they need to do? And we should be considering this. And so that organizing communities, what we want to do is help people break up that sense of isolation that they see from each other, so that people can know who their neighbors are. They can be involved in their neighbors. They can talk about their mutual values and their expectations, and maybe explore the process of acting collaboratively. I would like you to be thinking now about how you're going to define your community, the community of interest for your needs assessment, and you need to think about what actually makes it community, and what type of community is it, and what kind of defining characteristics do we have. And of course, you can look at this information here regarding community organizing, community building, and of course the whole structure and the process of empowerment. Some of these are big buzzwords, but I mean, we can still learn some things from this. And so, community organizing goes back all the way to the 1880s, and this had to do with response to coordinating services for immigrants who had recently come to America. And so they were helping to pool resources because, of course, we're talking about a lack of resources. They also found that they had some shared problems when they came over here as well, too. Community organizing is often seen as an outsider's approach, meaning that for the most part, people who are doing the organizing are coming from outside the community, whereas community building comes to us from feminist ideas of power with and to, and not power over. And so that kind of is the driving force. So you have some terms that you can think about. You can think about needs versus capacity assessment. So your community organizing is typically focused on needs, whereas your community building is built on the assets. I think it's a good idea to be doing both, because a community can also be defined in not only what they need, but also the resources that they already have. And so what you see here in the slide here gives you some ideas of where primary building blocks are, secondary and potential, and it helps you to think about your communities and the resources that they already possess, the things that they might want to see change. It's all of that. I'd like you to kind of start with assumptions regarding your community organization, and think about, start where the people are. And that's really, I think that comes from Saul Alinsky. That is something that we will hear over and over again, because we're going to start where people are, because who better can define the problems or identify the problems are the people who are living in that particular area. what we want to look at is are the various approaches that have, you can see some of the assumptions that they have here, where, people should be dealing with the problems that they have in their own communities. People do and want to change. People should participate in the changes that need to be made on a community level. And these self-imposed and self-developed changes are more lasting. You're going to be with your particular groups for a period of 3 semesters, but what happens after you're gone? And so if they're self-imposed, if they're taking part, if they have active ownership in this, you are probably setting them up more for success than everything falling apart after you've left. We are wanting to look at this from a very holistic approach. And of course, people need help with their communities just like individuals do as well. I would like for you to consider how you're going to collaborate with your stakeholders through this whole process with the community needs, and think about the strategies that you might want to use that would put you on a better footing for that. What did I want to say? So, in community organizing and building, we do have these 10 steps. What we will be looking at for this particular semester are only the first 5, steps 1 through 5. You can find this on page 243. It can kind of gives you that information, but really what you're going to be doing is recognizing the issue of interest. You're going to find a way to get some entree into the community. You're going to be looking at ways to organize people to come together. You're going to assess the community themselves. And then after that, you're going to determine some priorities and setting some goals. Items 6 through 10 will be covered in your next 2 classes, but these are things that would be helpful for you to think about now and to be working on as we speak. And so again, you have recognizing the issue, gaining entrance into your community, organizing, assessment. And so, somebody has to recognize there's a problem. Of course, this problem can be internal or external to the community themselves. Community organizing efforts tend to be more successful when the issue is recognized inside the community. And of course, this is where we come from with grassroots issues. And so we do that. Who will you organize? Who will your community partners be? Who is going to help you negotiate entrance into the community with gatekeepers and key stakeholders? And then, of course, we have this whole employ the pre-seed, proceed model that we're going to take a look at here. What I'd like you to be thinking about this week is, what is the idea or the problem that you want to examine or to address? How are you going to determine what the problem is, and why is this important, and who is it important to? And so you can look at this. So how are you going to identify the issue that you want to assess? Most of the time it comes from personal interest. You're going to be working on this for 3 semesters, so you would want to pick something that is important to you that you can stick with. You're going to have an organization that you're partnering with. You want to have an initial meeting to identify potential areas of engagement. And really what you're going to do is find out what's important to them. Who's the population that they work with? Is there any type of need that they have? And so, and what you'll find out are some key issues for the community. So you will spend considerable time learning about the pre-seed proceed model if you've not already done that. And so you can see that here, and we're going to continually go back to this. You'll probably see this every week. What I'd like you to think about and what you're going to be concentrating on for the immediate future is the social assessment itself, where you're going to define health behaviors, problems, and priorities. You're going to see how such behaviors affect long-term desired outcomes. We want to know things from the community, such as quality of life issues, happiness, life satisfaction. All of these things are items that we can use to find out what's important. And that's what you're doing. You're there to listen to these folks. You're there to not come with a predetermined agenda, but to try to partner with them, see what's going well within their community, see what they would like to see changed. And then you have lots of different ways that you can do that. And of course, you can look at the social diagnosis, and I'd like you to kind of be working on this. This may even take you over to Maslow's. You can look at that there. And so when we are talking about social indicators, here's something I would like you to kind of keep in mind. So maybe some of the things that might be important to your community, such as things within the community in these various aspects, whether civil unrest, crime, or crowding, drug use, employment, schools, access to health care. If you're working with a particular organization, what can we learn about quality of life concerns through their organization, through their productivity, their absenteeism, their employee morales? Or, with that too, you're also going to be bringing up some demographic information with age, marital status, education, income, race, and ethnicity. There are ways for you to look at this. You can look here at the CDC core module that'll give you some ideas of some of the things that they are looking at. That's a good place. Your secondary data, your quality of life measures, you can see this here. And then, of course, your secondary data sources. These are always important, and it's important that you find out as much about your community and your population before you actually begin to try to ascertain what they need. You can do that through health rankings. You can do that through county health rankings and roadmap. And then here, what you will find out for the rest of the lecture period, there's some information regarding community-based participatory research. And these are nice things that we would want to kind of keep in mind. Even if you're not doing community-based participatory research, you would still want to look at these because people are resources. People want to be treated like people. People want to be treated like people and not by numbers. And we want to give voices that maybe have not had the opportunity to speak before to do that. And so we want to hear from them. The wider the net that we can cast, the more inclusiveness that we have. And in fact, where it says here, err on the side of inclusion, I think what you'll find is that usually we have a hard time getting people to participate in these assessments. So cast a wide net, err on the side of inclusion. There's no one size that fits all. Depending upon what you're choosing to work on as your project, we'll have to tailor it to that exclusively. And, we do want local people to solve local problems. We can learn from failures. We might want to know what other kind of events have happened in their particular community, what worked, what didn't work. So what I would like you to consider before I run out of time here, your next steps. You should be thinking about your community partner of interest. You should be trying to set up a meeting with somebody from that particular community. And so you would develop a list of questions to ask your community partner, and you would want them to include, but not limited to, potential ideas, problems you can investigate for them, history of the organization, including their mission, their outreach, the focus, the populations that they serve, and what are some of the main issues that are going on. What this requires for you to do is to have a few questions, but also to be able to listen. That's what we want to do. It could even be as simple as, hi, I'm a MPH student. I would like to partner with you for the next 3 semesters and learn about your community, learn about the strengths in your community, learn about things that you all would like to see change. But I'm really here just to learn from you and to hear what you've got to say about items that are affecting your community. It can be as easy as that, or as simple as that, or more detailed, just depending on what you want.